lives in our most ordinary towns. Between the worlds we see and the things we fear, there are doors. When they are opened, nightmares become reality.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Z-Talk Radio, its affiliates, or sponsors.
Roseann.
Yeah, I'm here.
It is time to welcome the person that will guide you through the supernatural realm. Your host, Tim Roxbury.
And welcome back to another great Friday right here on the Z-Talk Radio Network. Well, tonight I have two very special guests. Their frightening experience had been featured on Destination America's A Haunting back in November 24th, 2014. The show was titled Child's Play. Chris and Roseann, you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How are you guys doing this evening?
We're doing pretty good.
That's good. So how did your story start? And how did the show eventually become as a TV show? Chris?
Yes, sir. Well, go ahead, Roseann.
Go ahead.
Well, it started out as we kept having things that happened in our home, and we just played it off as this coincidence. Just little things would happen and everything. Until it started getting, gearing up and everything. We had a dog toy got thrown from our master bathroom into our bedroom while we were sitting on the couch one night, and we looked down and the dogs were sitting in there and there was nobody in here. And then our two kids, they had experiences too, and so we were like, okay, well, maybe something's more going on than meets the eye, and it just kind of escalated from there.
Mm-hmm. I know. I from watching the episode, you had originally thought maybe it was your mother visiting.
My grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, I guess you had flowers in the backyard that she had or something.
My grandmother had planted them all over her house, when I was a child. Mm-hmm. And when we bought the home that we had, that's kind of one of the things that kind of geared us up to buying our house was the flowers and the way we looked and everything, because it had that homey feeling, and it also reminded me of my grandmother too.
So you had originally thought that maybe your grandmother was visiting with you.
Well, there was always just little things that would come up, and as our kids started getting bigger, my daughter would sing or hum little songs or sing little songs that me or my wife, either one of us has ever sang or even brought up, and I would ask her, where'd you hear that from, and she'd just look at me and she'd go, well, Daddy, I just hear it all the time. So.
And that was a song that your grandmother had sang, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's interesting. Roseann, how about you? How did it all start for you? What was your first initial thing that maybe something was going on?
Well, I had experiences at different times throughout my childhood, and one of the things that, of course, they had put on the show was whenever I'd played with the Ouija board or the spirit board and things like that. And so it's something that I've always believed in. And like I say, of course, having the experiences myself, I felt like I really had no choice other than to believe in that. And but like he was saying, there were different things that would happen. The instance he told you about us seeing a toy actually get thrown, a little stuffed dog toy. There were a lot of times you would just get that feeling that someone is in the room watching you when you know good and well you are the only person around. And there were a lot of those times where you'd feel like you kind of see something out of the corner of your eye, or just little balls of light just kind of, I guess, zooming around above your head, another one of those out of the corner of your eye things that you would see. And then just hear awkward noises that not necessarily the same types of noises that you might think was just like the house settling. It was something that was much different than that. And then a lot of those things, whenever they kept happening, it's like he was saying, we tried to write it off at first, just thinking it's coincidental, we're overthinking it, stuff like that. But then the more things happened, and then, of course, too, whenever our kids began coming to us and starting to tell us about different feelings they had, different things they've seen, different things they've heard, because before anything ever started getting physical, they would come to us and tell us, somebody, did y'all just call our name? And we're like, no, nobody's said anything. And they're like, no, somebody just called for me. Somebody called my name. We're like, no, nobody said anything. So it was just different little things like that kept going on. And then the more time goes by, the more begins to happen. And then the light comes on one day. It's like, okay, we can't pretend it's not what it is. So that's when we were like, okay, there's something going on. And considering things got to the point where they weren't just something moving here and there, it began, with more vicious types of things, with the touching people and pushing and the scratching and the growling and things that you would say more sinister types of things. So that's kind of some of the things that gave us hints that whatever we're dealing with is more than just, I guess you'd say, an average ghost or average haunting.
Right. When did you buy the home, and how soon after you moved in did you start noticing things weren't quite right, or things were different?
We bought the house back in 2003.
Yeah, December of 2003.
Yeah, it was December of 2003 that we officially had bought the house.
Okay.
So, and his grandmother had passed, it was October
of that same year.
Same year. We had our daughter in November, moved into the house in December. So the little things that we really contributed to her, the lighter things going on that we never really paid a lot of attention to, those, like the kids humming the songs and things like that started happening fairly early on. But I guess the more devilish types of things that started happening were 2013, probably fall of 13.
Wow.
Am I right? So. I was trying to think. A lot of those times start running together just because whenever you're going through that, what seems like a normal month for your average person tends to seem like a year when you're having to deal with it all. So
right. When you guys first started noticing this, did things start out subtle and then escalated over time, or escalated right away?
Yes, sir, it did. It started kind of subtle, just little things here and there. And when it really geared up is when our kids, started becoming of age, and we got more involved in church activities. And when the kids pronounced themselves to the Lord and got saved, and we started doing devotionals every night with the kids here at the house, that's when things really geared up.
Wow. See, one of the things that I was intrigued about your story is I also have the same sort of religious background and the same faith in things, and that kind of led me to, wanting to or maybe speak with you on the air, off the air, because I was pretty intrigued by your background and things, and how this all started because of your religious faith and your belief in God. So.
Yes, sir.
Well, it most definitely seems to, I guess you can say, present itself much stronger when we were starting to try and make that stronger connection.
Right.
in our faith and things like that. And of course, you know, not just he and I, because me and him both had attended church on a regular basis when we were growing up, you know, when we were younger. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, once we have our family and then we start getting our children involved, well, I guess that the devilish side of the world starts thinking, oh, well, you're trying to take someone away from me. So then they want to step in and start, I guess, trying to scare you away from your faith, mm-hmm. you know, and trying to follow that avenue.
Mm-hmm. So as you became more stronger in your faith and became more active in church, the paranormal started acting more maliciously and more letting itself known that it's there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my daughter, with her, of course, she's the youngest and everything. With her especially, I think it was trying to get at her because being the youngest, it seems like, I guess if you want to say, you're more vulnerable, mm-hmm. more gullible, more, you know, easier to sway one way or the other. Right. And so trying to get her terrified, you know, I think is one of its main intents. Mm-hmm. Whenever it got started, because I mean she has what I would consider an unshakable faith, and especially for a kid of her age, because she was so young and everything. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one of the things that I guess whenever she would start getting scared, instead of, I don't know if you'd want to say just flipping out, right. She would pray, you know, and that's one of the things that we had always told her is, you know, in those times where you feel like you're all alone, if you get scared, if something frightens you, if you just, you know, get in that bad situation, just pray, you know, and she did that. I mean, there were plenty of times that she would come to us, you know, when she was having that fear and everything as well, but she would pray. And so, and I think that's another thing that really, I guess, made it target her even stronger because, of course, that's exact opposite of what it's wanting.
Mm-hmm. Was she the first to experience what was going on in the home?
I would say yes. Mm-hmm. As far as like just all the conversations and things like that we've had here, from what I understand from everybody, you know, of course, us sharing our stories together and stuff like that, I would definitely say she was the one that began having those types of things happen to her first.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it was because of her age, that she was so young and maybe more open to maybe the unknown, maybe the supernatural, is why she was targeted, so to speak?
I definitely believe yes.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that maybe she may be gifted in some way, or maybe be able to sense these things?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I know from talking to gifted people, quote unquote, they become they have those abilities at a young age, and sometimes that's what draws. That could be what draws the energy or the entities to them, is because they're gifted.
Yes, I would completely agree with that, because she has given me vivid descriptions of lots of things, and things that she would see that weren't necessarily associated with everything that went on at our home, but just being out other places, you know, and she would tell me about having different feelings, like maybe it's an extreme sadness or, you know, overly happy or kind of giddy or, you know, just seeing things, you know, figures and stuff like that. So I would most definitely say she is absolutely gifted.
Because I had noticed that, because I'm also gifted, and when I saw your episode on television, I was wanting to, you know, ask you that question, because I had also felt that, you know, maybe she had been gifted also. So that was kind of interesting.
Yes. Well, and I'm not exactly sure how much truth there may or may not be in it as far as like being genetic, because my husband is also, he's gifted. I don't know the exact term
Right.
So to say, he's psychic or medium or, seer, feeler, communicator, but he has a lot of those abilities as well. So I would say that's probably where she would get a lot of that from.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't realize that until April of 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
After all this had done happened and everything.
Because I had always, from talking to people, other gifted people, they feel that maybe it can be generational, maybe, from a parent or a grandparent or something. So that's interesting. Chris, what was the first sign to you that maybe something was going on? I know you had mentioned about your grandmother. Was there anything before that you had noticed?
Well, now looking back at everything, when I was a child, I used to have imaginary friends, and I could tell you, to a T what they wore, and had conversation with them. I remember having a little imaginary friend there at my grandmother's house, when she was living. I was younger, and, playing trucks out in the backyard, like Tonka trucks and stuff like that, and seeing the truck move everywhere, but there was nobody else out there.
Wow.
And then my grandfather had got real bad off, and he had a massive stroke and a heart attack, and he was bedfast and couldn't talk and everything. And I was going there and helping my grandmother every day. We had to take syringes and feed him. And one morning, it was on a Saturday morning. I kind of remember it like it was yesterday. I went in there, and he looked over at me and said, I'm going over the mountain. You take care of Grandma. He said, I love you. And then next thing I know, I seen this kind of like, I don't know if it was the sun coming through the window or if it was like a bright light, and he passed away. And when I was talking to my grandmother and them about it, she said, honey, he never sat up. He never said anything.
Wow.
So after that point, I don't know if I got spooked or whatever, but I kind of blocked everything out. And then April of 2014, my wife's grandmother passed away, and I was very close to her. And while we were at the funeral home, I got to seeing things and hearing things. And when we were, my wife was helping dress her grandmother, and the lady was doing her hair, and I looked up, and her grandmother was standing beside her body. And I had to get out of there. I freaked out.
Oh, wow. That's something that's kind of neat in a way that we're able to feel and see things that other people may or may not see, and when you approach somebody like that, I really don't know how I would approach somebody, and hey, there's somebody standing beside you, or there's whoever, and it would kind of freak people out, I would think, if you would tell someone that hey, there's a little girl beside you or trying to communicate with you. They'd think you're crazy or something.
Well, at that immediate moment, whenever, of course, he gets this ghost in the light or deer in the headlight look on his face. My mother was in there with us as well, and she looks at him and she goes, Chris, you look like you just saw a ghost. And he's like, you have no idea.
Wow. Yeah, that's funny. So what were some of the things that may or may not have been on the show that maybe you had experienced? Or do you think that, before you bought the house, possibly that it was calling out to you for some reason, wanting you to purchase the home?
Well, aside from, like he was telling you earlier about the flowers that were already at the home, they were already planted in the yard whenever we were looking to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was one of the things that really had intrigued us. And, of course, just the general feel of the home had that kind of home sweet home feel to it as well. And then one of the things about this specific area that we live in is our backyard, it was a creek at one point in time, and it's part of the Trail of Tears.
Mm.
So I have a strong belief that probably plays into a lot of the activity and things that we've experienced, on top of, we've got the gifted family that, you know, like my husband and my daughter, and I have a very small touch of sensing. I've never really, around the home here, aside from, like I was saying earlier, out of the corner of my eye types of things, I've never seen a full figure straight ahead of me, but I have more of the sensing ability. It's not extremely strong, but I do have that. But it was just kind of the location of our home in regards to the schools and things like that that we really liked. It's a peaceful neighborhood, so it was a lot of things played into us being drawn to the house itself. So
go ahead.
I was just going to say the town that we're in. We knew that it's the town we wanted to stake as that's home. That's where we always wanted to call home and everything, because it's not too small, it's not too big. For us, it seemed like it was just perfect.
Wow. Did you know any of the history, like the Trail of Tears? You know, did you know that was, you know, essentially in your backyard at the time?
No, sir, we did not. And the only way that we figured this out is after all this had occurred and everything started happening, I started researching it, you know, right before the haunting had asked us to come on their show and everything, because they was asking, you know, questions about what do you think it was and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, we had heard from different ones, you know, the investigators and different ones that it could be the land, it could be, you know, a piece of furniture or something like that. So when I got to researching it for days on end and come across that, you know, this used to be a creek, and I remember it when I was a kid, and it was not very much of a creek. It just kind of dried up, and then they made a subdivision here, but I didn't think nothing. I didn't put two and two together, but when I came across it, there's an old topographical map, and this used to be an old, you know, fork off the Catherine Creek, and the Trail of Tears come through here as well as the Civil War. It was both, you know, both partisans. So, and when there used to be a bunch of mounds in this neighborhood right here before it was, you know, subdivision, and what an Indian guy I talked to, he said that, you know, if there was mounds there, he said a lot of times in a creek, he said, you know, the Trail of Tears, they had a lot of, you know, disease and everything, and they buried a lot of their people in the creeks or in the mounds of the earth. And he said, so there could have been a good possibility that, you know, that could have had something to do with it.
Now, from my understanding of the Trail of Tears, was it a path that the Native Americans took to the north? Was it a way they traveled?
Well, it's whenever they had to relocate to where the actual Indian territories were, it's pretty much the trails that they followed, making it from point A to point B to get to the actual territory.
And a lot of their trails that they traveled was by rivers, you know, major rivers or creeks and stuff like that. So,
wow, and I guess a lot of them passed away or, you know, died on the way to, you know, to the other where they were going.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Do you know of any remains that may possibly be, like, per se, in your backyard?
Not that we know of, but, you know, we've not done any digging or anything like that, and we've never had an archaeologist or anybody come out to, you know, to look at or study anything like that. We were just going by what we had found, you know, in books and online and stuff, you know, and just asking people, you know, the elders around town.
Wow. I some months back, I had interviewed an author, Bob Kremer, who lives in Pittsburgh, and one of the stories, he lives near Fort Pitt, and his front yard was one of the main trails or pathways that the Indians traveled from here to, say, Fort Niagara, and apparently there was a family that was killed right in his front yard, and he had I don't know whether she was a psychic or a paranormal investigator, but I don't know if maybe it was even him, I'm not sure, but they had used dowsing rods, and when they walked up to that point in the yard where that tree had been planted, the dowsing rods spread apart, and he had called a company with sonar equipment, and they verified that there was a family of Native Americans buried right in that spot. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe that might be a route that, you may take, as far as investigating, if there is, in fact, remains on your property. Maybe you could use...
Yeah. Well, and I know my husband has actually used the dowsing rods before whenever he was younger. He had, it was one of his elder family members.
Witch for wells.
He would witch for wells, and he kind of worked with Chris and taught him a lot about how to do those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So he's pretty skilled with that in particular.
I've never used it to find a body or anything like that, but I'd heard from, different investigators, as we've had all this stuff done, that you can also find graves and, water veins and stuff with the dowsing rods.
Right. And I think, and that's, one thing that contributes to activity as well is moving water, and using dowsing rods, be kind of, I never used them, but it'd be kind of a neat tool to have in your arsenal, so to speak, if you're looking for, bones or water or, something that may be going on in your home.
Well, even to this day, we've had this home since 2003. Mm-hmm. Every time it rains, like floods here at the house, the backyard will just look like a moat. So I'm assuming the water table is still, there's probably still water underground here.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have activity in your home, or has it subsided?
We just have, small things here and there. But as far as, demonic things, we don't have anything like that anymore. But there is things that comes and goes that's unexplainable. And I will see figures every once in a while, and I'll just, ask them to leave. Because, if you don't say anything, we were told that if you see it and don't say anything, like, you're not welcome here, mm-hmm. then that's kind of like an invitation for them to stay.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I know one thing that my husband has seen outside in our yard, which, going back to this being an area for the Trail of Tears, mm-hmm. he has actually seen several Indians outside around here. Ghostly figures, of course, but he's seen some of that around here.
That's interesting, because I was gonna ask you guys that if anybody had seen Indians around the property.
Well, as the demonic forces here at the house that we had going on when it was really, really bad. Mm-hmm. One night I was tucking my little girl in, and my wife was coming, to tuck her in as well. And there was like this big, gigantic black wing figure on the wall in there in the hallway, and there was nothing to make the shadow. And the more I got to looking at it, it looked like a big Indian headrest.
Wow. That had to freak the heck out of your daughter. Wow.
To say the least.
Wow. So do you think that maybe whatever's in your house is demonic, or do you think maybe it has something to do with the Native Americans, or do you think it's a combination of everything?
I think it was a combination of everything, sir.
Wow. It's interesting. I'm going to have Wesley Fox and Joe Eder on my show here in about 2 weeks. So I got them scheduled to talk to them as well. And I know that Wesley was very active in your case from what I've seen on the show.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he was the one that we ended up speaking to that had came out. Him and Melissa, they were the ones that came out. And, they're the ones that did the first investigation that really gave us confirmation that the things that we had felt and seen and the activity and just everything in general, they kind of confirmed that, we pretty much weren't crazy, that we did actually have something going on here. And then, of course, the more time went by, and then Dad came out and done other investigations here before we were able to completely get the demonic away from the house. They were the ones that confirmed all of that for us, and they had some of the pictures of, well, they had taken quite a few pictures and audio and videos and things like that around here that has got a lot of the evidence to show what we did have here.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
One of the things I know, and my husband and my son both actually had seen, it was a shadow figure, 7 foot tall maybe. He said it has a hat and either a staff or a cane. So, and that was one of the things that I know he said, that it had a really ugly face on it. And that was one of the things that always, whenever they saw it, you always got that super eerie feeling and just uncomfortable. And that's a lot of times whenever they would see that they would end up getting scratched and different things like that.
Wow. Your story is one of the ones that was most active and most horrific that I've ever heard of. Since I started doing this, and I know also from talking to clients that I've had in the last 5 years, they all tell me that we just want to know we're not crazy. We want to know what's going on. If you can help us, that'd be great. We just, want to have some peace of mind and for you to help us as much as you can. So that's one of the reasons why, I've got involved with this, with the paranormal, was to help people. So.
Yeah. And the hard thing with the whole paranormal is you've got the believers and you've got the skeptics,
right.
And so a lot of times it is really difficult to pinpoint exactly what it is or where it's come from and that kind of thing, which I think a lot of, between me, I guess, playing with the spirit board as a young girl, I opened myself up to that world on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with my husband, him having the gifts that he has and everything, that kind of opens him up a little bit more to being able to see and communicate and hear and talk to things. And then, of course, passing that on to my daughter.
Right.
So,
do you believe that?
I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and starting from earlier years all the way up through to now, that plays a part into that entire experience as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that the entity or the whatever it was lay dormant all these years, and then at the right moment it just latched out at you? Or made itself known?
Well, I think a lot of it had contributed to, there for a long time, when me and my wife first got together, we went to church and everything, mm-hmm. and then we didn't go as much, so it was kind of like, we just kind of went just sporadically, and then as we, both of our kids started getting bigger, we wanted to get them back and, have core values and stuff, and as we got, I guess you'd say closer to our Christianity there, or God, mm-hmm. then that's when it really, really just went crazy.
How was your faith now? Is it stronger now than it's ever been?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes that's the only thing that gets you through something like this, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Is your faith.
I'm a firm believer in that.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I know from talking with other guests on my show that have had their stories on a haunting, they have told me the same thing. It comes down to your faith and your trust and your belief in God is what gets you through these things. So
Yes, sir. And then, it's like my wife was talking about the believers and the non-believers. Well, you got those that out there that, say, well, how do you believe in God? And how do you believe in, the devil? And how do you believe in this? And so it's like, it shows itself and it appears. I mean, how can you write that off,
Exactly. My sister, she's a non-believer in the paranormal, and she tells me all the time, she goes, well, Tim, I didn't think you believed in God. I'm like, why do you say that? Oh, because you believe in ghosts and you're a paranormal researcher. I'm like, I was like, that's crazy. If anything, it strengthens my belief in God, because that's all I have when I go into these homes or go into these situations. So, that's what keeps you out of trouble, essentially.
When you sit there and watch, okay, we have a utility room here at the house. We have a washer and dryer in it. When a box of dryer sheets, floats up in the air and then just slams across to the other side of the door, or you sit there and watch the faucet come on and turn itself off, you watch cabinet doors open and shut on their own. I bought my wife some flowers with a helium balloon. And we sit there and watch the string on that helium balloon and everything, the ribbon, pull itself back like an arrow and let loose.
Jeez.
So, I mean, you just write them off as, my eyes were just not focusing, or, well, what do you do then,
Right. Oh, my eyes are playing tricks with me. That really didn't happen. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I just want to shake these skeptics together and just, shake the crap out of them, because they just irritate me so bad, just. For someone not to believe in this is just crazy, especially.
Well, let them get put in your shoes and walk a mile in them and have some of those things happen to them. I think a lot of them would probably change their thoughts.
Right, exactly. I was talking to my former fire chief today, and I told him, you should listen to the show sometime. You might open your mind, or you might get an education. And he just kind of looked at me and laughed, and I'm like, whatever, dude. You don't want to believe. That was just, about an hour or so ago I seen him, and he's like, you're still doing that? I said, yeah. I help people. So.
But it don't go away, I mean.
Right.
Well, as far as everything that happened here, it got so bad one week, it was towards a Friday, that we were like, we've got to get out of this house.
Mm-hmm.
So we let the kids stay with their grandparents, and me and my wife took off to go to Branson. And while we were down there, we've always been intrigued with watching, the ghost hunters and just different things on TV. And the kids didn't want to be a part of anything like that. And we had seen the Ghosts and Legends tour up there in Branson. And me and my wife, I don't know what drew us there, but something, just kept telling us we needed to go. So that's when we met Wesley and Melissa. And it was just been a journey ever since then.
Wow. It sounds like they've really... they've been a godsend, by the way that they were able to help you. That's
awesome. Exactly what we say. We live by faith that God has a plan, and that was all part of it, was to put them in our lives to help us deal with a lot of the things that were going on here, because we were to the point before we had contacted them, or I guess ran into them, we were at the point we were thinking, it's just something we'll have to learn to deal with, because every avenue that we tried, getting help, talking to people, the pastor at our church and everything, either getting the look like you have lost your mind, or, the people that don't believe or just, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was most definitely what we would call God's plan for us to end up where we were and things to work out just like they did.
Mm-hmm.
But to add to that too, our pastor there at our church and everything, for almost a year straight, I'd been going with him, going up there to church and meeting in different places, and like to eat breakfast or whatever, and we were going through discipleship together. And I just finished a course with him and everything on the discipleship part, and then all of it started happening, and I asked him if he believed in all that. And he said, well, he said, I don't really know how to answer you. He said, I know it, denotes in the Bible, in theology, that there's, demons and angels and all that. And I asked him about coming to bless the house and everything. And he told me, he said, well, the only thing I can tell you is just pray real hard and everything. He said, I don't know what to tell you. Mm-hmm. And he was a young minister. But then after that, then he just kind of steered away from me. It was, we didn't talk very much, didn't go out, to breakfast or lunch anymore. And then it's like, well, if you can't, he's a man of the cloth. And if you can't go to him, to get godly advice and help and everything, then what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So we was kind of at our wits' end.
Wow. Yeah, that's hurtful that, he's shunned, that people of faith and supposed to be the ministers, you go to them for help and they shun you like that. That's horrible.
Yes, sir, it did. And it just kind of just sinks you down. Your heart is barely hanging on anyway because everything's happening. And then that is just like it sunk down into the bottom of your stomach, and you're like, okay, now what do we do now?
Mm-hmm.
We got faith like there's no tomorrow, but and we prayed and everything that we could do, and it's like, okay, now where do we go from here? And then when we met, Wesley and Melissa and everything, they were just gun ho about wanting to help, and we were like, wow, there's people out there that actually care,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's good that there's investigators out there that help families such as yours. And that's one of the reasons. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I got into this field, was to help families, and it can be real rewarding in the end. You make friends and you're able to help people that way.
Well, and that's one reason that we were really excited about getting our story out to where people, if they may be experiencing the same thing like we did, it'll let them know that don't give up. There are people out there, and that's one thing. Once we had met Wesley and Melissa and everything, we got involved with them doing the paranormal investigation and helping people as well because we wanted to give back. I mean, that just
seemed like the thing that God had intended for us to do is to help others, and by helping others with the paranormal like this, you bring them closer to God anyway.
Exactly.
And that's just one thing that just pleases our heart more than anything, because you can have a family that's having things go on like we had, and they be non-believers, and we come in there and, as a group, all of us together, and then, inform them that if you'll do X, Y, and Z and pray religiously every day and everything, that, this will stay away from your home and make it better. And what that does, it brings them closer to God, and I think that's his intent by a lot of this as well.
One of the things that intrigued me about Wes was he was able to give medals of St. Michael to you and your family, and to tell you to pray and say the Archangel Michael prayer and everything. That was really neat, I think.
Well, that also, Joe Eder, he's a minister, and he's also a demonologist. He had sent us a blessing kit. And it had, well, to back up a little bit, while Wesley and Melissa was here on their first investigation, they said that they thought that it was, more tormenting my daughter Brittany. So Wesley took his pendant off at his neck that he wore all the time and gave it to my daughter and told her, this will protect you, and, just keep it on you, never take it off. And then he got in contact with Joe Eder, and Joe Eder sent, a blessing kit, which had a blessed candle. It had the instructions on how to bless the home, the St. Michael's pendants for everybody. And that's, how we got, Wesley had got in contact with Joe, and that's how, we got involved with them. And then by, helping them back out with the paranormal group, we all became, friends and pretty much family.
That's really neat, isn't it? When you're able to meet someone like that and be longtime friends with them.
And exactly. And Joe lives in Florida, and Wesley and Melissa live in Missouri, and we live here in Arkansas. And then we've got another guy that lives in Iowa, and we just all are a big family spread out all over the world here.
Wow, that's really neat. Well, I think it's time for a break, guys, and maybe we'll come back and maybe we'll take some callers, or maybe one of the listeners will want to call in. The number is 724-602-2826. You are listening to the Supernatural Realm on the Z Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back right after this.
wished I told you, things I wish I'd said now. I hope it's not too late, and if that door should close, I need you to know I'll miss your beautiful. It's the way you look, it's the way you breathe, it's the things you whisper in my ear when you lay your body down on me. I love your eyes and I love your face. You love me on my best days, forgave my worst mistakes. This could all be over in the blink of an eye. So I'm asking you to give us one more try, to give us one more try, yeah. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, and find your way home, find your way home. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, you'll always be my beautiful soul. So let's get down to the heart of the matter. Yeah, we may be cracked, but we ain't shattered, we're fixable. So don't let go. You see, I could have said this and I should have said that, but the way I feel is a matter of fact. You're incredible. I was such a fool. If this is really over before it's said and done, I need you to know you will always be the one. Always, always. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, and find your way home, find your way home. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, you'll always be my beautiful soul. So simple, girl, why can't we see? I want you and you want me, want me, want me too. We're standing in a crowded room, my eyes speak but the lips don't move. You looking at me, I just looking at you. We walk outside in the pouring rain, soaking wet, I still feel the same. You're beautiful, everything you do, yeah. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, and find your way home, find your way home. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, you'll always be my beautiful soul. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, and find your way home. Oh yeah. Shine on, falling angel, shine on me, you'll always be my beautiful soul. Woke up this morning, had these thoughts run through my head. Words I wished I told you, things I wished I'd said.
You're listening to Z-Talk Radio, the number one choice for music, sports, news, and talk radio. So keep that dial locked to ztalkradio.com.
At Armstrong, we're proud of the great customer service we provide.
Our hard work has been nationally recognized. Armstrong has received the 2012 Best Customer Service Award for service excellence among independent cable operators.
From our Blue Booties
to our 24/7 support, our customer service sets us apart from other providers.
that's the Armstrong experience.
Armstrong. One wire, infinite possibilities.
Timber! Timber! What was that? I don't know, man. Timber!
And I am your host, Timmy. Well, welcome back to when we are going into our second hour of the Supernatural Realm with my guest, Chris and Roseann Cupit. You guys still with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What were some of the things that happened in your home that may or may not have been shown on your episode of A Haunting Child's Play?
Well, one of the instances that comes to mind specifically was, we were saying earlier about Wesley and Melissa getting involved and doing the investigations. And for time constraints, they had to combine the 3 different investigations that occurred. They had to combine it down into one occurrence whenever they put it on a haunting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was, Chris, was it before the 2nd or 3rd investigation where we met them in Branson and they came? Okay. The 2nd investigation, we had went from our house down to Branson just because a lot of the activity here had gotten to the point that it had gotten physical and was pushing and scratching, and we'd come in, all the cabinets in the kitchen be wide open, and just a lot of different things like that. So we had left from here and went down to Branson, which is between 2.5 and 3 hours from our house. We met them at the McDonald's on the main strip that goes through Branson, and we were just going to stop and kind of talk to them, update them on a lot of the things that had been going on. And while we were there, we realized the entity from the house had actually followed us to Branson, because my husband was sitting in one of the chairs in the lobby at McDonald's, and Wesley was sitting there with him, and he also had his son there. And then me and, Chris, our family, we were all there. Melissa was there. And whenever my husband started saying his arm was on fire, and as they looked down, they sat there and watched 3 marks start coming down his arm. And something was literally scratching him as he was talking. So that was one of the first things that happened that let us realize we could move or whatever we wanted, but pretty much whatever was here, it's going to go with us. So it's not run away from it, move to a different house, and things will be fine, because it would go with us. So that was one of the things that happened that same night after he had gotten scratched on the arm. My husband and Wesley and his son all went to the bathroom because, there's, as far as like the reflections in the mirror and taking pictures, trying to get something to show itself, they went in there and they heard footsteps running in the bathroom of McDonald's, and they were the only 3 in the bathroom. When we finally got done at McDonald's, we had a hotel where we had gone to stay until we were going to get up and they were going to follow us back to our house that next day. At the hotel that we were in, me and my husband and, our kids and stuff were all in the hotel room, and it sounded like something was trying to literally knock the door down.
Wow.
And so, of course, it's just shaking, rapidly shaking, loud, like it was about to come off the hinges. So, of course, me and my husband, we jump and we run over there. We're like, okay, there's some little kid out here trying to play a game or whatever. And as soon as we threw the door open, my husband runs out. He goes one way, I go the other. There is nobody out there. And the time of year that we were up there is pretty much dead in Branson. It's typically a very touristy area, but at this point in time, there was nobody. We were the only ones checked into this hotel. So we sat out there for a little bit, just kind of talking and trying to get our bearings back, because it scared us pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're standing in the breezeway talking, and my husband had a 20-ounce bottle of Coke, and he had set it down on the ground. And there's no wind or anything like that out there, but we're sitting there talking. And next thing, there's a trash can sitting off to the side, and the top of it gets flipped. And so we're like, okay, there was nobody out here. What in the world did that? And the next thing we know, it's like someone kicked his bottle of Coke like a football, and it went flying down the corridor. And whenever we ended up going back in the room, my son, the 7-foot-tall figure I'd mentioned to you earlier,
right.
He had described, and this is before, he had never heard of a description of this figure. He came up and described it to me and told me everything about it. Well, then my husband, a couple of hours later, gave me the exact same description, saying he had seen this thing in our room since we had gotten back in there. So they both gave the same description to me at 2 different times, and they had not talked to each other about it. So that was one of the things that was really scary because, like I say, it let us know at that point, wherever we go, this thing is going to go with us.
Mm.
So that's one of the big things I know that happened, that they time constraints wouldn't allow them to put everything that happened into the show. So that was very scary to me.
Right. So you had met with Wesley and his wife 3 times prior to the investigation or during the investigations or before them?
We had met them one time up in Branson during the tour, the Ghost of Legends tour, and then we had, after that factor, there was 3 investigations that they'd done here at the house. They had to come back 3 times for it to leave our home.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice that each time they were there investigating that the activity seemed to pick up or may have not have seemed to pick up each time they were there?
Yes, sir. It escalated. You know, each time that they come, it ramped up and got worse. The last time they were here, it was horrible because I challenged whatever thing was here. I got to the point where I was like, I don't want you here and all this, and I challenged it, and boy, did it come alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I tell my clients, you know, each time we do the interview that I tell them, I said, don't be surprised if after we leave here tonight, the activity doesn't pick up. And I had also heard and found out that when you get angry with the entity or the demonic force or whatever, things do seem to show themselves a lot more rapid and a lot more physical.
Yes, sir. We are a firm believer of that, and from what we've been told, that they kind of feed off your fear and your anger, you know, so to speak. And any kind of electronic device that you have that runs off of batteries will zap them dead too.
Definitely. I just did a case here about a month ago down the street from my parents' house, and we were upstairs in the attic where a lot of the activity has seemed to go on from what the client had told us. And we were up there, and I was kind of provoking a little bit, which I don't normally do because it can hurt somebody. And when I was up there doing this, I said about, you know, hurting people. And I no sooner said that, and the client's son got a scratch on his back. And when I was filming on my camcorder, the camcorder suddenly shut off and then wouldn't turn back on. So I took it downstairs and turned it on, and it was fine. So whatever was in that, you know, attic bedroom seemed to, you know, be active and let me know it was there. So it was kind of scary.
Yes, sir.
That's something that we've had a lot of experience with is, since we had joined in and done the paranormal investigation with Wesley and Melissa and everything, majority of the investigations that we've been on, you have to take plenty of batteries because we have to change batteries all the time because they draw a lot of their energy from all the equipment. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, I was talking to another team that I'm friends with here. They actually had a battery explode while they were on an investigation. He told me that. I was like, whoa, that's some energy there.
Yeah. Well, you was talking about provoking things on some of these investigations. Wesley and Melissa have a what's it called? A voice box.
I don't know if it's called a ghost box. Ovulus is what they call it.
It's an ovulus, and it'll just sit there and say random things that it's programmed to do. Mm-hmm. And when I'd get there and get to taunting it and everything, it would say things that is not in the script. It programmed words, and our last name is Cupit, and it sits there and it goes, "Ha ha, Cupid," or call you bad names and just different things like that.
Really? Wow. I wasn't sure whether or not what my feelings were on the Ovilus, but that's interesting that it actually said your name like that.
Yes, sir. And it seems like, when I can see them in a room or anything like that, and then I'll point them out or, describe them and all this, they get upset and angry. And I'll just keep, doing that, and I shouldn't do it, but I do it, just to, prove to everybody else that it is there, what I'm seeing. But, I was told that I didn't need to do that.
Because probably 9 times out of 10, someone else may be seeing that or experience the same thing.
Yes, sir.
Wow. What were some of the things that you had experienced, Chris, that may or may not have been on the show?
Well, in the kitchen in there, my son was sitting at. We've got an island that's made onto our countertop, and we kind of use it like a bar area. And we've got these microfiber and metal bar stools that kind of swivel. And my son was sitting there one day eating some pizza rolls, I believe, and he looked up and he seen the cabinet door just creep open and just slam shut. And he just kind of looked real funny, and it kind of startled him. So the kids are pretty short, and these bar stools are pretty tall. So when they get off of them, it kind of like, if you play with microfiber, you make it go one direction and the other. It makes like handprints and stuff or just different things. Mm-hmm. And he had slid off that stool and had wiped it clean. And then he seen this like skeletal hand, he kept telling us, in front of him as this thing was doing, the door and everything. And when he turned around and looked at the bar stool, there was a ginormous skeletal handprint on that stool. And he got to hollering and screaming at us, and we went in there and looked, and there is no way in the world we had another bar stool right beside it, and I put my hand down on there, and you can press as hard as you can on it and everything, and there's no way in the world you can do that. And plus, when I put my hand up against it, it was about 2 inches longer than my hand, and I've got a very large hand myself. And so, it just kind of startled us to death over that. And then later on that afternoon or that night, my son went in there taking a shower, and he kept just having this eerie feeling, and he had the same skeletal handprint, kind of come at him, in the shower, and he jerked, got real scared and hurried up with his shower, and he got out, and when he did, he had scratches on him.
Wow.
So that was one of those deals that, we couldn't explain, and it was just really scary. And then I think it was 2 days after that, it was on the weekend, he had a couple of the kids that he had made friends with at our church came over, and they were sitting in his bedroom with the blinds open, and we got these old whiskey barrels sitting on our front porch that are very, very heavy. They sit there and watch one of them slide from the window and get pushed out and, onto our front porch and everything. And it just scared them to death. And we went out there, and sure enough, that thing had been moved, and it's all you can do to push it back. And so they were like, the boys didn't want to come back and spend the night again after that for a while.
Wow. What were some of the things that he had maybe, did he say anything to his friends that, something was going on in the house?
No, sir, he did not. We didn't even, the two boys that had stayed here, that one of them had went to our back bathroom back there, and they had witnessed the commode flushed on its own, and the water had turned on and off on its own, and a cabinet drawer came open, and it scared them, and they went back in there, into my son's bedroom, and they never spoke about it until, I guess, about 3 or 4 minutes after the fact, and, we had Wesley and Melissa here doing the investigations.
Wow. So they never came back after that, I would assume, right?
Well,
it was a long time.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go back either after experiencing something like that. Wow.
Well, I know something else that came to mind. Brittany, my daughter, whenever she was actually in the shower too, and we had gotten to the point where nobody would go into one of the rooms alone. We, I guess you could say, use the buddy system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in there with her. She was taking a shower. And whenever she got out of the shower, she was complaining about there was a place in the center of her back that was burning. And my first thought, well, she took too hot of a shower, and so she turned around. And she had, it was either 3 or 4 scratch marks in the middle of her back, but it looked like one of them had actually tried writing a word in the middle of her back.
Wow. You said it was 3 scratches?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure most of the time there was 3 scratches on anybody that got scratched. There was a time or two that we had seen 4, but on her, like I say, in addition to just the scratches themselves, it looked like it had started trying to write some kind of word.
Wow. I always heard, and when I did the research about bad entities, sometimes they will scratch in 3s. I don't know if it's because they're making fun of the Trinity or what it is, but I've had more than one people tell me that's happened. So.
And see, that's what we have been told, during this whole experience, and then helping out with the paranormal group and all that, is that they mock the Trinity. And one thing else that happened here at the house is we was always drained of energy. Me and my wife we hardly ever fought or, had a crossword. And we were at each other's throat over the smallest thing. Why did you set that cup there, or just anything? And then we would be woken up at 3 to 3:30, between 3 and 3:30 every morning there for months by bangs, cold sweats. One night I got woken to what appeared to be the whole ceiling was on fire. It was what it looked like smoke. I got up and everything and seen it, and I turned the light on, and there was nothing. And then it was around Christmas time. We had a 9-foot-tall Christmas tree in there in our living room because we got a 16-foot vaulted ceiling, and heard this ginormous bang like glass breaking in the kitchen. I got up and I opened the door, and I just froze there, and my wife come running and everything. I said, don't move. And I looked, and there was that 7.5 foot tall figure, black figure, standing in front of the Christmas tree, just staring at me with no face.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as I turned my head, it disappeared, but one ornament on the tree was spinning. And all these ornaments could spin, but only one ornament on that tree was spinning when I told her it left.
Wow. Huh. It's almost like when it left, the air just spun that ornament around. Oh, that's crazy.
It was kind of like one of those call signs that, I'm here.
Right, exactly. Were you able to do any of the research underground? Maybe there was a home that may have burnt on the property prior to yours?
No, sir. There was, as far as my knowledge, the only thing that was here in the middle of our subdivision used to be an old red barn that had an old well on it. And from what I'm understanding from one of Wesley's other friends, Kelly, she's a psychic. She said that there was a well in the center of our house at one point in time, and that would make sense, is that old barn and that well there. But, I don't know if somebody might have fell in it and died, or if it was just an energy source, like you were talking about, by water and limestone kind of thing.
It almost feels that maybe there is a portal of some sort in or around your property.
That's kind of what we've been told as well, sir.
Wow. I don't know. I don't know whether or not those portals can be closed, but I know from talking with David Roundtree and things that he believes in portals and the environment opening up and something making itself known, or the energy opening and something with the environment, with the portal and things. That's what he believes.
Well, the one thing, since I've been able to see things and feel them and hear them and all that, my daughter had one of those cheap old mirrors that you buy at Walmart. It's just one of those little that you can put like 3 screws on the wall and hold it up. And it was, I guess that they can use mirrors as a portal as well, because I kept seeing stuff go in and out of that mirror. So we took the mirror out of her room, and while, Wesley and Melissa and we all blessed a home here at the house, we blessed the mirrors as well.
You haven't seen anything in that mirror since then?
No, sir.
Well, the other mirrors in the house, we haven't. We have not put that specific mirror back into our daughter's room.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in our attic with a blanket over it.
Right. Yeah, I also believe that, mirrors create a doorway, so to speak, that the energies or entities can travel back and forth. So that's probably a good idea that you guys removed that from her room.
Yeah. Well, that was actually one of the pictures that they took the first time Melissa and Wesley were here at our house. They took a picture in that mirror, and you can see, I know there's at least 3. I don't have the picture in front of me to pull it up and look, but I know there are at least 3 entities that you can see in that mirror.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When they did the EVP sessions, did they possibly get a name of maybe something that was negative in the home? Or did it,
They got a Latin voice on there, and Wesley's son had taken Latin in high school, and he just translated the best he could, and it said children's souls.
Oh.
And that's what just it scared him to death, about what they had caught and everything. And there was all kinds of growls and different things. And then by, when we got close with Joe Eater and everything, he also was doing the demonology and all that. He told us about everything. And Latin is the worst you could have, and he said he felt like it was a fallen angel.
Right. Wow.
Well, I know another one of the EVPs that they ended up capturing during one of their sessions. They were telling it that it has to leave and it can't come back and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up saying, "Not without Brittany."
Oh.
They actually captured that one on the recorder.
That's got to be frightening.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I guess that's another clue as to that was one of the main targets here at the house, my daughter. So
Mm-hmm. It seemed like she took the brunt of what was going on because, maybe it's because she is so young.
That's what we're assuming as well, because there had been she would never talk about it or anything, but after me and my wife started experiencing things, and my son started experiencing things as well, and then after Melissa and Wesley had came that first initial time, they started sitting down and telling us and everything. My daughter kept telling us about black figures. She would be watching her TV, and her bedroom window is right by the TV, and she said she would see a dark figure walk down the road, come through her window, and just sit there on her dresser and stare at her.
Oh, wow. And she never opened up to you until the investigators come in?
No, sir, she did not.
Oh,
she
wow.
kept it to herself. She said she just prayed and prayed and prayed because she didn't know what it was.
Well, that had to be frightening for her.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I feel bad for her, actually. Go ahead.
One of the things that had happened that really made us decide we had to start looking into our options as far as what we can do to get rid of the entity that was here.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting ready one morning, my husband and I, we were getting ready for work, and the kids were up in the back of the house getting, they had to go to school. And our bathroom where we were getting ready is clear across the house from where our kids get ready. And all 4 of us that morning heard this loud stomp, which we've got the laminate wood look flooring. So, and it sounded like a heavy, like a work boot, just took 2 or 3 stomps on the floor. And so me and my husband heard that, and, we look at each other like, what in the world are the kids doing?
Right.
So we come out of the bathroom, we're going back there, we're like, what in the world are y'all doing? And then they started telling us, they're like, y'all heard that too? We were like, yeah. What are y'all doing? They're like, we didn't do that. And so that's kind of, at that point, they started telling us little things. And so I guess at that point my daughter was talking to us. In addition to seeing the figure come through her window and everything, she also, from where her bed is in her room, she can look out her door, and the hallway is positioned just right to where she can see a doorway that leads into the kitchen, and she can see the refrigerator. Well, she said there were a lot of times at night that she would see something that looked like it was kind of crouching down and tiptoeing through there.
Mm-hmm.
And she would hear the boot stomps at night and things like that too. So that's one of the things I remember earlier on that really let us know we're going to have to start getting serious about what's going on here, finding someone that can help us and figuring out exactly what it is and what we've got to do to get rid of it and make it know that its presence isn't welcome.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's some story that you guys have. Is there? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, living through it was a scary experience in and of itself. So,
mm-hmm. I had wanted to reach out to a family in Ohio that y'all are friends with too, that had their story featured on the show, and I don't know. I guess they're still going through a lot of things in their home, but I had wanted to possibly talk to them as well, but haven't heard anything from them.
Yeah, that we've pretty much watched all the episodes. I think ours it's still considered part of season 7, but I guess they took a hiatus in the middle of the season, and then they came back, and ours was the first one, and then the family you're referring to was the next episode that they had showed. So that just from, I guess, the way the story ended on a haunting, that was my impression that they still have a lot going on as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. I had seen some of her posts recently too, and sounds like that things are still very active in their home, and I feel bad for them.
Because that being the kind that I can say been there, done that, I completely.
Our hearts go out to them.
Yeah, our hearts go out to them, and we pray for them daily. So
that's great. We got about 40 minutes. Is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about or mention during the show? The remaining 40 minutes.
Well, I guess part of, I was talking about some of the experiences that I'd had whenever I was younger, aside from playing with the spirit board and things like that. My grandmother, I used to stay with her quite a bit, and whenever I was a child, there are parts of her home that I didn't realize till later on that were over 100 years old.
Wow.
And one of the experiences, I'm going to say I was probably between the ages of 7 and 9, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I had stayed the night there, and if I ever woke up in the middle of the night, I was always terrified, because that's talking about being able to sense things. I always had that feeling when I was there that something was there with me, whether it was an actual person or not. And so I'd gotten up in the middle of the night, and I had to go to the restroom. And so it's one of those instances that you make a mad dash for the bathroom to turn on the light. And the way her house was set up, there was a closed door that you had to pass by, which led into the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And at my grandma's house, whenever you lay down to go to bed, the lights are off, the TV's off, the radio's off. There's no light, no sound, nothing. So when I go by the door to the living room, it sounds like there's 2 or 3 people up having a full-blown conversation in the living room. So I remembered I went to the restroom, ran back to the bed, got in the bed, went back to sleep. But when I got up the next morning, I'd said something to my grandmother about, what were you and Grandpa doing up in the living room last night? And she's like, well, honey, we weren't. We were in the bed sleeping. And I was like, no. I was like, there was somebody in there. I said, I heard people in there talking. I said, they were having a full conversation, in which I didn't stop long enough to listen to what they were saying because I was too scared. I was running back from the bedroom to the restroom and then back again. So she's like, oh, well, honey, there's parts of this house that's over 100 years old, and it's haunted. And she said it so nonchalant, like, I was just like, oh, wow.
Like she knew about it and just,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, of course, she got to telling me things, because that house had been in the family for years.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had just gotten to telling me about different things that had happened to her, from the time she was little, being in that house up to, things she had experienced being there as an adult. So that was, like I say, my paranormal experiences started well into when I was just in my single digit.
Wow.
So, and I think that's probably whenever I was between 10 and 12, whenever I started playing with the spirit board and things like that, that having the experiences so young, that kind of just seemed like a curiosity thing, and then opening myself up at that point to whatever may happen later on in life, which I think probably does have something to play into a lot of what's went on now, in my adult years.
Right. I guess once you open that door, it's open. Whether or not you believe it or whether or not you want it, it's open. Once you do that, then wow. So there's a lot of things that went into play here then. I mean, throughout your life and throughout Chris's life, and then buying this home it's had some Native American history in the backyard. It's just everything that's been going on in both of y'all's life. It's like it all come together, not in a not so good way.
I just said I was agreeing with you. I just said yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's intriguing, but yet it's scary at the same time that you as a family had to experience this.
Yes, sir. And then when Wesley, wrote the book and everything, to put out there, and we had to show a haunting, we were just wanting to, let people know that, if they've seen the show or, read his book or anything like that, that, that we had went through that, traumatic experience and everything. And if somebody read it and everything, we just wanted to touch base with everybody, just let them know that, there are people out there that would help, and there is a way to get rid of this. And, they can go to, go online and look. It's called Deliver Us from Evil, the Chris and Roseann Haunting. That's the book that's online right now. And, the group that we're involved with Wesley and him is called Branson Paranormal. And then the demonologist, Joe Eder, he's got Eder Ministries there in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And, if anybody there, needs help or just questions or anything like that, we're a Christian-based group that, we just try to help people, resolve issues or just, if anything, be there as a sounding board, let them know that, there are people out there that's willing to help. And we don't charge anything for anything that we do at any point in time. And when the last investigation here at the house, Wesley and Melissa, being with Branson Paranormal, they said, I got a question for you. How would y'all like to be a part of the team? And we were like, oh, by all means, yes.
Wow. And what better members to have is somebody that has been through it and been through it all. To me, that would make a great investigator.
Well, you know what to expect, and you know what the call signs are and everything. It's just one of those intriguing. That's why a lot of people in the paranormal field do this kind of things, because they have their own experiences on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And there's some others that want to do it for their own and for have a TV show or whatever. But I guess everybody has different motives for why they get involved with it. But it's the ones that have those experiences and know of people who have had paranormal experiences are the ones that make the best investigators, in my opinion. not just somebody that goes out and thrill seeks, but somebody that actually, wants to help them, wants to help people, wants to help families to resolve some of these issues and these things that they might be experiencing.
Well, the one thing that when we were, going on these investigations with Wesley and Melissa and Mr. Joe, is that, we go in there, these families having, things go on. We go in there and we investigate the home and, try to get a basis of what's going on and then, figure out, what they need to do and, how to resolve it and everything. But we also help them by trying to get rid of what's there in their home, by blessing it and praying and just, everything that we can possibly do to rid them of that headache,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Is there any events or anything that you guys may be going to? I know the one in Gettysburg, well, actually, it's not in Gettysburg this year, just north of Gettysburg. The Phenomenon is in June, May or June this year. But is there any events like that you guys may be going to this year or in the future?
Not at the moment, no, sir.
Mm-hmm. It would be great to meet you guys sometime and talk to you and see you in person. Oh, absolutely. We would quite enjoy that. Mm-hmm. I would too. And that's why I was wondering if, maybe, you guys would, go to an event or maybe we would see each other there at some point. Well, absolutely. Just keep us informed of all that and everything, and we'll let everybody in the team know and everything, and we'll see what we can do about all that, sir. Okay, that'd be great. I'm going to go ahead and take a break, Chris and Roseann. If you guys want to stick around for the next half hour, feel free to do so. If not, you're free to do whatever you want. I mean, it's your show tonight, so... Yes, sir. We'll be here waiting on you. All right. You are listening to the Supernatural Realm on the Z-Talk Radio Network with my guests, Chris and Roseann Cupit. If anybody has any calls or any questions, feel free to call in, 724-602-2826. We'll be right back right after this. Check 1 2 1 2 2 2. Summer day is come and gone away from Paris and Rome. I wanna go home. Maybe surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone. I wanna go home.
We can solve that problem. That's what our clients hear from us every day. If you're hurt in an accident and dealing with medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering, we help you take back your life. For a free consultation, call 1-800-9-4-EDGAR. Today
where they see you today? Are you looking for the love they took away? Everyone knows that you couldn't bear the pain, so you took your life in the pouring rain. You took your life in the pouring rain. Johanna, Johanna, are you really here? Looking for your lover after all these years. Johanna, Johanna, are you really here? Has your lover returned after all these years? Now some may not believe it, and I won't say it's true, but some of us have smelled your rose perfume. Johanna, Johanna, are you really here? Looking for your lover after all these years. Johanna, Johanna, are you really here? Has your lover returned after all these years? Has your lover returned after all these years?
That was a song written by Bobby Mackey from Bobby Mackey's Music World in Kentucky. The song's titled Johanna. The Cupids, are you still with me?
Yes, sir. We're here.
Okay. Have you guys ever been to Bobby Mackey's by chance?
No, sir. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a I guess that's a pretty active place that a lot of investigators go. It's in Wilder, Kentucky. It's called Bobby Mackey's Music World. That was one of that song was for one of the girls, I guess, who had died in the building years ago. Her name was Johanna. I don't know if she took her life or she committed suicide in the basement, but that's the story anyway, that she may have took her life, and that's a song about her that he wrote. So.
Oh, wow. Well, Tim, while we're talking here, we've got our two kids here outside with us, Brittany and Justin. I mean, if there's anything that, you would like to ask them, I mean, feel free to.
Yeah, sure. If they want to come in and chime in on the show and give their story, what they had went through, yeah, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Brittany.
Hi, Britt. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. That's my little niece's name is Brittany. So
that's a good name.
It is definitely a good name. So what were some of the things that you that happened to you in the house before the show aired? I know you had seen a frightening image near your bedroom. Do you want to tell us about that?
When he came through my window, I was just frightened because I knew it was too dark to be an angel, so I was like, what is this thing? And all I see is it come through my window, and it would stand at the end of my bed and watch over me. And then I would fall to sleep, and then I would wake back up, and it would be sitting on my dresser just staring at me. And then when I fall back to sleep and wake back up, all I know is I turn over and I just see that thing laying in my bed with me. So I put the covers over my head I'm praying that it would go away. And then when I pulled the covers back over, it was gone.
Wow. So from what it sounds like, you did a lot of praying before you told anybody what was going on.
Yes, sir.
Wow. You have an incredible story, you and your family, and a very frightening one too. So, what were some of the other things that you had experienced in the house before Wesley came?
I was in the kitchen with Daddy, and me and him were putting up dishes. And I was putting the silverware away, and then a spoon had knocked out of my hands when I was going to put it up, and I picked it back up, and then I had the same thing happen, and we were just sitting there just wondering what it could be.
Wow. That's really something.
And I also saw a figure walk in front of the refrigerator to the bathroom. And every night when my mom and dad come and tuck me in, they always shut my door. Well, I woke up about 1 or 2, and my door had opened. And the light in the hall was on, and we turned all the lights off at night. And I just see this black figure crouched down, and it walked across the refrigerator and into the kitchen. And that morning when me and Bubba woke up to get ready for school, that's when we heard the boot stop. Just clanging around everywhere.
A lot of this stuff sounds like what you experienced the most of all, and from what it sounds like, a lot of it was real late at night, like 2 or 3 in the morning. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that'd be scary for a little girl to experience something like that. I bet
yes,
you did.
I was scared.
Yeah, I bet you did a lot of praying to God while all of this was going on.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that a lot of this has helped you with your praying and things. A lot of that helped with what you were seeing and what was going on.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's incredible. Your faith is really strong. That's really neat. And Wesley helped you too, didn't he? A lot.
Yes, sir, he did.
By giving you.
And I'm proud they came down to help us.
Yeah, it sounded like you were real happy that they were there, and then he gave you that St. Michael medal and things. Told you how to pray. Yeah, that's really neat. I make rosaries and I give St. Michael medals to a lot of my team members. A lot of them buy the St. Michael medal and have it blessed on their own, and they wear it on every investigation we go on, and that helps them. It protects them. That's a very good thing to have.
Well, I wear mine all the time so that nothing else can get me.
Exactly. I got my little niece, Brittany, a set of medals too, and for some reason she doesn't wear them anymore, and I get pretty upset at her sometimes. I'd say, Brittany, this will protect you all the time, so you need to wear this, but she doesn't. She does what she wants on her own. But I wish she would wear them all the time, because I think she sees and feels things too, as well as you do. So it definitely helps to wear those medals all the time.
I can talk to her and tell her that she needs to wear them all the time and tell her my story.
Okay, yeah, it'd be great. I think, how old are you? I think Brittany, my Brittany is like 12. I think she just turned 12 in September.
I'm 11.
Okay, so you're like only a year younger than her. So you'd make a good friend for her. Maybe you could talk to her at some point.
And we have the same name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure the spelling's the same, but it's a nice little name to have for sure.
Well, my brother would like to talk to you too.
Okay, and it's nice talking to you, Brett.
You too.
Okay.
I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin. How are you? What were some of...
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good. What were some of the things... I know when you were upstairs in the bathroom, you had gotten scratched. What were some of the other things that you had experienced during this time?
Well, when I was in the bathroom, I was in the shower, and I remember after I think I opened my eyes to look up, and I see something standing in the shower with me, and it wasn't like a normal size figure. It was like really tall, like up to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And another time I was in the shower, and I peeked my head outside of the shower door, and I saw like that same black figure, except it was sitting on the toilet.
Wow.
The tank of the toilet.
Huh. I guess you had gotten scratched too while you were
Yes,
up there.
sir. I had took a shower, and I was coming out of the bathroom, and as I turned the light off, something had scratched me, and I ran out scared of my parents, and they didn't know what it was as well.
Mm-hmm. Because I know from experience, from talking with other people and doing the research that I do, as I told your parents earlier, that a lot of times in a negative experience or negative haunting, that when you get scratched, a lot of times it comes in threes, or there's 3 scratch marks side by side, marking or making fun of the Trinity, from what I've been told. So that's not uncommon to have that, especially with a negative haunting such as yours. That's very common.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I had 3 marks on my left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Do what?
Did it feel like your back was on fire, your shoulder was on fire at the time?
It felt like I had a really bad cut, and it was burning real bad.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Were you going to say something?
Do what?
Go ahead.
Another experience that I had was when I was in the kitchen. Me and Brittany and my mom and dad were sitting at the dinner table, and we were playing a little card game. When we got done, Brittany and my mom had done left the table because they had to go do something. And me and my dad were putting up the cards at the table. And when we were putting them in the box, something slammed the box out of his hand and started spinning the box around.
Whoa. That's crazy.
It was like spinning the box in circles, and
mm-hmm.
there was a water bottle that it flipped upside down and sat on its lid.
Jeez. Did you have some of the same experiences that your sister did, seeing that image in the home or in the window or anything?
No, I didn't have anything in my room, really. It was just more outside of my room. It was like more in the living room and the kitchen and the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that maybe Brittany's room was sort of a hot spot? They had a lot of the majority activity in?
I do, but I also believe that my parents' bathroom as well.
Mm-hmm. So between your sister's room and the bathroom, sounds like that's where a lot of the activity was.
Yes, sir. It did. And even if we weren't in those areas, it would follow us. Like if we were all together in the house, it'd be in that room with us.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice that the activity or whatever was in your home? Did you notice that it would follow you out of the house, or do you think it? Do you believe that it stayed at the house or on the property?
Yes, sir. I believe it did follow me because, like at school, I would see like different things, like out of the ordinary. That wasn't a student walking in the hallway or anything. It was a big, tall black mass or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your mom and dad had mentioned that you had some friends over one time, and it took a very long time for them to even come back to the house. Because they had,
I had two of some of my best friends, and we were sitting in my room, and we had my window curtain open,
mm-hmm.
and we had two barrel-looking things outside of each mine and Brittany's window.
Right.
And it's not the easiest thing to pick up. It's really heavy. And we were just sitting there, I can't remember what we were doing, and we both hear this real loud noise and a scooting. And we looked outside, and underneath the barrel there's a black tarp. The tarp didn't move, but you could see where the circle where the barrel was, and it moved a good foot.
Wow. Do you believe in, as your parents do, and I do, that some of the stuff is tied to the property?
Yes, sir.
Wow. There's a lot of things that took place in your home, and there's a lot of things in place that, in the past, and the property and everything kind of tied in with each other.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of history where we live over here.
Mm-hmm. Do you still experience anything, or is it pretty subtle?
It's pretty subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Like every now and again you might see something, but it's not something you should really pay attention to. Just kind of.
Yeah, just blow it off.
Nothing bad.
Right. It sounds like Wesley and his wife were able to help you tremendously with what you had experienced there. That's awesome.
We appreciate their help.
Right. Yeah, they seem like they're really good people. I'm going to be talking to them, I think. Well, actually, I don't think I know, but I'll be talking to them in 2 weeks on January 23rd. If you guys would like to listen in or maybe call in, that'd be great.
All right, absolutely.
Because I think, Joe Eder is going to be on with him as well, Wes and Joe. So I'm looking forward to talking with them. We got about.
They'll have stories too.
I'm sure they will. And Wesley has his own story as well, I guess, from when he was a.
Yes, sir.
So that's that's interesting in itself, and for him to be able to help other families, and for him to have been able to help you, it's pretty awesome.
Yes, sir. He even has a book over his story too.
Oh, really? I did see that online. I wanted to get a copy of that, but I don't think it's available right now, because I checked out on Amazon.com and they said it was unavailable. So I'm waiting patiently to get a copy of that. Justin, we have about 10 minutes left or 5 minutes left on the show. Is there anything that you would like to say that maybe we didn't cover these last 2 hours, or your parents have anything? Because we got about 5 minutes left, 5 or 7 minutes left.
Okay.
Well, it's just if there's anybody out there that is questionable about anything like that, to feel free to contact any of us at any point in time, day or night. We'd be glad to give them a helping hand the best that we can, and just let them know that there's hope out there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I talked to all kind of people on the show and even off the show that have experienced things in the 70s and 80s. There weren't really a whole lot of help for families like yours out there during that time. Not like there is now.
There was just the Warrens is about the only ones that come to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of people available, resources available to help families like yours. Now you can go to paranormalsocieties.com and get a list of any number of teams that are in your area.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else you would like to say, Chris, Roseann, or Justin, or Brittany, or is there anything else anybody would like to say?
We would just like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be on the show and talk with you guys and get our story out there to that many more people. Like you said, that's one reason that we always like talking to people and everything, which people are much more open. They're still the skeptics, but people are more open to these types of things and trying to reach out for help as opposed to the way things were years ago. So if our story gets out to that one person that still needs some help, then we're grateful for that, because it's hard to have to think that's the kind of life that you got to live and just things that you'll have to tolerate when really and truly you don't.
Right, I agree.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Brett.
Can me and my brother both have an autograph, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll have to get your address from you and get a picture sent out to you. That's really neat.
My mommy will send it to you on Facebook.
Okay. It was nice talking to you. You're a strong little girl for sure. Thanks for coming on the show, Britt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your time, Tim.
You're welcome. And feel free to contact me and talk to me anytime. My number, you have my number, and you have my Facebook, and feel free to chat.
Absolutely. Keep in touch with us, sir.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on the show, you guys. You're a real nice family. I enjoy talking to you.
Well, it's been an honor.
Thank you. We've enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show and getting your story out there. And I'm going to have the show uploaded on the Z Talk Radio website on the show archives page. So if anybody wants to listen to the show or download the show, it'll be available here shortly after we go off the air. So if anybody wants to listen, just click on the show archive page, and then you'll scroll down to Supernatural Realm Radio Show, and I believe your episode will be at the top of the page because this is a new year, so it'll be on the top rather than the very bottom as they were last year. So that's where it'll put you in. So you're at the top. You'll be at the top of the page on the show archive. So thanks for coming on the show, you guys. I really appreciate talking to you, and I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir, as well as we did.
All right, thank you very much. You have been listening to the Supernatural Realm on the Z Talk Radio Network. Next week, I have Chris Levis and Lori McCabe. They're going. Chris and his mom, Annetta, had a frightening experience, and their story was told on A Haunting. And Lori McCabe, I believe she was one of the psychics that was involved in the case. So I'm looking forward to talking with them. And maybe in the future I'll be having Bill Bean on the show as well. Maybe hopefully sometime in March or April. So I want to thank the Cupit family for coming on the show. It was an honor to talk to them. And hopefully somebody will hear this story, and maybe we'll be able to help somebody. I'm looking forward to next week, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to thank the Cupid family again for joining me on the show. And if there's any questions, if anybody has any comments, you can email me, Facebook message me, and we'll get those answers as best we can. You have been listening to the Supernatural Realm on the Z Talk Radio Network. I'm going to say good night, everybody, and hope everybody tunes in next week. Good night.
I took 2 weeks vacation for the honeymoon. A couple tickets all inclusive down in Cancun. I couldn't get my money back, so I'm in seat 7A. I'm getting drunk on a plane. I bet the fella on the out thought I was crazy.
drunk on a plane.
Just a ghost, but I'm not the only one. I guess I'm not the only one.
This one's for the kids that walk around with their hoodies up. No one to talk to and on the verge of giving up. Same shit, different day, nothing seems to work out. Headphones on, always trying to tune the world out. And this one's for the kids who get picked last. Yeah, so might as well just skip gym class. Why not? I bet no one would even notice, cause no one really cares when you down feeling hopeless. And this one's for the kids at lunch who sit alone. So embarrassed you pretending that you're on the phone, but then you realize that it doesn't really help, cause ain't nobody on the line. You just talking to yourself and it stings, right? Yeah, I know. Sometimes it feels like you're on your own. Trust me, you are not the only one. Life has only just begun. Just remember that you're not alone. Go. Yeah.
Just staring right at me,
right at me.
Looking right past me. I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
Who do I turn to when I feel see-through?
Yeah.
I'm just a ghost, but I'm not the only one. I guess I'm not the only one.
Look, you feel invisible, but I can see you. You call it out, nobody's answering, but I can hear you. They don't like me, they don't get me, they don't feel my pain. But there's a million people out there who relate to you and feel the same. Yeah, so just smile and you'll be alright. When you're feeling like a ghost floating through the air, remember stars still shine in the darkest nights. Even when you can't see them, they always there. Yeah, so keep your eyes up to the sky. We all in this together, we gon' make it if we try. It's hard when you're feeling like you lost and forgotten. You got no one around to dry your tears when you cry, and it stings, right? Yeah, I know. Sometimes it feels like you're on your own. Trust me, you are not the only one. Life has only just begun. Just remember that you're not alone.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
Just staring right at me.
Right at me.
Looking right past me. I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
Who do I turn to when I feel see-through?
Yeah. So tonight I'ma fly up to the sky and let the whole world see me. And if you're feeling how I'm feeling, you should come along with me. It's the last time you'll ever look past me again. I'm not a ghost, I'm more alive than I've ever been, and I'ma let the whole world see me. And if you're feeling how I'm feeling, you should come along with me. It's the last time you'll ever look past me again. I'm not a ghost, I'm more alive than I've ever been.
Just staring right at me, looking right past me. I'm just a ghost. Who do I turn to when I feel see-through? I'm just a ghost.
Yeah.
Just staring right at me, looking right past me. I'm just a ghost.
Yeah. You're not a ghost.
Who do I turn
So keep your head up.
when I feel see-through?
One day the whole world's gonna see you. Yeah.
I'm just a ghost, but I'm not the only one. I guess I'm not the only one.
Are you sitting out there lonely and feeling left out? Do you want to be included in the world of the paranormal, but really don't know how? We have the paranormal solution for you. Call us at 1-800-RENT-A-GHOST. We can deliver everything from a timid spirit that walks the halls or one that simply opens a cabinet door. Or you can get a feisty poltergeist that can trash your house and really liven things up. We can get you as many shadow people as you need to have a party. Do you have too many unwanted friends or family just barging in? Our screaming and wailing banshee will guarantee that after hearing some deafening anguish, they will never return. Impress your friends or take revenge with a specter of death hovering over your dinner table or theirs. Or if you're lonely, you might like a simple attachment that follows you everywhere. EVPs? Choose from our line of celebrity voices. What investigator would not want to hear Jim Morrison or Whitney Houston? Or maybe Michael Jackson or Kurt Cobain? Order now and get 3 free orbs. We are 1-800-RENT-A-GHOST. Not responsible for damage caused by poltergeist activity, divorce, loss of job, sleep deprivation, bedwetting, uncontrolled vomiting, suicide, or the possibility of being hospitalized for insanity. And most important, there will be no returns.
Time for me to fly. I've got to set my destiny. Time for me to fly. Baby, that's just for me if you got to pay. Don't it hurt to say goodbye? But it's time for me to fly.
Supernatural Realm has been a production of the Z-Talk Radio Network. Have a great weekend, everybody. Tune in next week. Good night.